Hi friends, welcome to the Very Occasional Podcast with Morgan Quaid. Now simulcast on multi-phase quadraphonic stereo so you can hear it clearly in both ears. This episode features Sebastian Bonet, comic artist, writer, showrunner, and chaos gremlin. You can find Sebastian's latest work at sebastianbonet.com or on Patreon at patreon.com/BonetStudios. Before we get into the show, don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast, because if I can get my channel to 1,000 subscribers, my alchemist is going to give me a potion that can turn water into slightly sparkling water. Welcome to the Very Occasional Podcast. I'm joined by Sebastian Bonet, writer, comic creator, podcaster, showrunner, and publisher. Sebastian, thank you, sir, for joining me on the Very Occasional Podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Let's get started. We'll dig nice and deep. Where did your journey in creativity begin? When you were younger, was it writing, comics, stories, role-playing? Where did it start for you?
It all started, I used to always just love drawing characters, like when I first picked up my first X-Men comic way back when I was a wee lad. And from there, it's just, I just love the colorful characters and everything. And then I started to get into anime. Like my first anime that I got into was Armitage the Third, very old school anime. And then the Saturday morning cartoons. So I just love these different worlds that people are being transported to, where I was getting transported to every time I picked one up. And then I just started creating my own characters, and then didn't get into writing too much later, which was when I decided to come out with my first comic called Dead Planet. It was released in 2016, and it was my love letter for The Thing, which I was I'm a very big Thing fan, and it was just my debut into comics. And from there, it's just been working on various projects. Like I've had some unreleased stuff, which I released on the Patreon for subscribers to actually check out, like Lords of New York. And then I got to work on other people's projects, but that's really where it started. I always wanted to get into comics. I always liked it. Fell off after a while, only because, after high school, there was really no one. I'm probably going to date myself because I graduated in the class of 2000, and there really wasn't a lot of schools or anybody really, and there wasn't really a lot of Comic Cons going on like they are now. And so when I went to Comic Con, I met writer Scott Barnett and Jeff Marzik. Artist Scott Barnett and Jeff Marzik, writer of the creative team behind Dead Man's Party. And at the time, they had just released their first book, and Scott and Jeff were just always amazing, taking the time out to speak to me and stuff. Scott checked out my art, gave me tips. Jeff, tips with writing. And then that's how Dead Planet started bubbling up. And then I released it. And they've always been mentors with that. And then my next mentor was Eric Hutchison, who is behind Imbion Studios. And with Eric, he was always a great mentor, taking over the wing and all that. And it was his show, Imbion Con, that I had done my first show. And this was when I was in person in Long Island, New York. And what was cool about that, Eric is that approachable person. He had approached me, said, listen, just network with people and everything, and then we'll talk after the show. Made about $7 for the show, but it was a great experience because I've made a lot of lifelong friendships. Like, for example, the shirt that I'm wearing for George Medina's Wonder Duck, he was actually the first person to purchase my first comic, and to say we are like good friends. And he's actually done the lettering for my current project, Concrete Combat, and we just go back and forth, and we've known each other since then, and it's always amazing. But yeah, it's been a fun journey being a comic creator. Is it rewarding at times? Hell yeah. When someone picks up that story and it's like they enjoy it, I was like, I did my job if one person loves it. And that's why I do it, man.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Such a buzz.
Hey guys, this is Sebastian Bonet, and you're listening to the Very Occasional Podcast from my buddy Morgan Quaid. If you guys don't hit that like and subscribe button, we're going to be sending out the Rabbit Smurfs after you. So hit that like and subscribe. And again, thank you for tuning in.
And what sort? So you mentioned X-Men early on. I get a action superhero adventure type vibe. What sort of genres are you attracted to? What sort of stories do you like to tell?
I used to be very, very, very big on the superhero genre at one point. But obviously Marvel and DC have that on lock, and I feel like,
Mm.
it's it's a fun genre, but I wanted to explore more because I do like the genres where you get the characters that are kind of a little bit in the gray and all that. So,
Mm.
with Dead Planet, obviously it was sci-fi horror, and it's definitely a tough genre to sell because it's a niche audience, and I had fun with it. I always have fun with, like, what are the gruesome ways I could do the creature mangling people and all that, which was fun in
Yeah.
the art. I'm really reworking that story with Alexander Sapunsis from Wayward Raven, so we're actually been working on an update for that comic. But then I started seeing a lot of the stories and being inspired by a lot of the manga comics and everything that have been coming out, a lot of the anime, and I kind of like the storytelling with that. Or again, it a lot of the stories kind of led with that gray area that I like to mess with. So when I was aiming for Concrete Combat at one point, it was very heavily anime influenced by Hunter x Hunter. What I'm doing now is that I had reinvented it, took a little bit of the cyberpunk feel, took a little bit of my love for D&D and mixed a lot of the fantasy in there. As you can see, I got the little rabbit girl right there, if anybody sees the background. And I just wanted to mix the two genres with sci-fi, fantasy, and everything. And I just wanted to tell an overall story that I wanted to see, where it takes a little bit of that political intrigue, it takes a little bit of that, but I didn't want to be like vanilla superheroes and everything, which is
Mm.
nothing against that. I
Mm.
just wanted characters that were just, they weren't bad, they weren't evil. Like, you're gonna have evil, you're gonna have good, but it's just the characters that they're just really trying to question their place and find their place in this world that they're inheriting, because it's not a great world. Like, for example, I like the fact that the city, I call it Citadel Utopia. It takes the word Citadel and Utopia, two things. Citadel, you think of a cold building. Utopia, think of a, peaceful place, and kind of merge that together to give you the feel.
Mm.
So I just really want to dive into the fantasy, sci-fi realm, and just create a world that starts to get bigger to transport people.
Wow. Wow, there you go. Exciting stuff. So how tell us about a time in your creative journey where a failure has sort of taught you something really valuable or has helped you, really reforge and redirect yourself, something like that, that you're willing to share, of course.
Oh yeah, I mean, I love sharing failure because I mean, without failure, there's no success. And fail, I learned this the other day from someone and stole it. First attempt in learning. That's how I take it. It's always
Nice.
oh, it's you learn from your failures, you learn from your mistakes. Um, One of my failures, I have to say, my biggest regrets and failure that I learned from was that I gave up too early. When I was
Right.
in college at New York Institute in 2001, 2002, I didn't really pursue this the way how I should have. And it kind of, I went down a career path that I didn't want to go down. And again, that was my failure. I learned from that. Now it's like, okay, let me learn from that failure, because I don't want to be like, oh, I wasted so much time in a career path I didn't want to go down. I'm just taking that as a lesson, like, it's just never too late to really go out there and chase your dreams and what you want to do. You
Mm.
just, now it's just, I also tell myself that don't feel bad about it, because I probably just wasn't ready at that time. I didn't have that mindset ready at that time. So again, it
Yeah.
was learning from that failure. Um, Another one was Lords of New York is probably always going to haunt me. It was going to be my second comic, and I decided never to release it until, like, I launched the Patreon last year and I put it on there. I should have released it, and again, the failure to release that, and what I learned from, is that I should have just released it to get the feedback, get it out there, because it's content. Because I could have
Mm.
just gone back and reinvented it. And it comes from learning from Jake Parker, finished but not perfect. And I was too busy
Mm.
trying to perfect it. And that's why with Concrete Combat, it got to the point where it's like it had gone through 3 iterations. I was like, I'm not going to let this sit there. I'm going, and I even went to some people, asked them, what do you think of the story, and got feedback. redid it, and that's where I learned that lesson with what I should have done with Lords of New York. I repurposed a lot of the characters, but that's one of the failures I've learned from.
And was that driven by sort of a fear of how it would be received, or you didn't think it was ready yet, or what was, do you think, behind that hesitation?
I think well, definitely was, I feel that I wasn't ready. At the time I was like, I gotta hit more conventions. I gotta hit more conventions. I have to
Right.
do a lot of fan art, and there's nothing against fan art, because I was always in the mindset I have to cover the table, because no one prepares you for how much it actually costs to do conventions. And when you're making money at conventions, you end up forgetting about the comics and everything. And then that's how Lords of New York kind of fell off the wayside, because I was like, oh, this is not going to make money. And then when I started thinking more about Concrete Combat, when I started thinking about it, and then started looking at what was happening for me at conventions, that's when I realized, oh, I really failed that project, and I kind of went down the wrong rabbit hole. I should have stuck with it. And I mean, to this day, I literally had 30 issues planned for that.
Wow.
They were all laid out. All I had to do is write the dialogue, but the bones for 30 issues was laid out. Drew the whole first comic, and this is before I had a digital tablet and everything. I hand drew it, scanned it, and I never dropped it.
Wow. Are you looking for someone to add a touch of musical majesty to your project? Well, look no further. For just a little less than an exorbitant price, you can hire creative genius Morgan Quaid to write and produce a bespoke song just for you. Looking for a heartwarming ballad? Well, look no further. I love you, but the words won't come from my mouth because words are hard. Looking for a track with a little more meat on the bones? Well, check this out. Sometimes I sing with my whole voice. Sometimes I even use words. After a stirring political anthem, well, here it is. We don't like those other ones. We hate those other guys. Enhance your next project with an inspired song from award-winning composer and creative genius Morgan Quaid. Tell us then something, if you're willing to share, an idea that is either too extreme, too difficult, something that you've got on the back burner that you've thought, man, one day I want to tackle that, but not today. Or something that's just you're never going to do because it's just too much.
I have it on the back burner because I want to do animation. One of my major goals with Concrete Combat is that I eventually want to make this into an animation. I want it to be something where people could also turn on and watch and all that, and see these characters come to life. It's still on the back burner there. I graduated from Full Sail University when I went back to college. And I took computer animation. I haven't been playing around too much with it because, again, when you lose that student license, them programs are pretty expensive. Yeah. You've seen the cost of Maya? Jesus.
Oh yeah. Cha-ching.
But I want to get some more animation projects with it. But first, I want to get the story out there to get it in people's hands. And I want to build a vast world that eventually I want it to become a big sandbox and invite other creators to contribute to it, because I believe that when you start to open something like that, you create something that's special, like a Marvel, something like a DC, where massive amounts of creators have come in to contribute their ideas to make the world a great place for fans to come and enjoy and all that, and have left their marks as on those worlds with their contributions. And so I have a lot of lore in the back burner, and then a lot of project ideas where I'm like, this would probably work in there, and I'm like rechanging it up where I'm getting it to fit in that world. Right. Where it's like, I've already written up to 11 chapters for Concrete Combat, and some of that stuff is hidden nuggets that are, and I'll say it on your show right now. One of the fun hidden nuggets that I added in the first issue is that one of the main antagonists, who's also a big player in that universe, you see them in one panel in the first book.
Right.
And I have them hidden in a nice little panel. And it's like, I'm going, once the next few pages and that character comes back, I'm going to circle that panel where people miss that character, but they are right there. And it's like, yep, that character's been there all along. You guys just didn't pick it up.
Oh, you heard it first, people. You got to get in there, support the project, and hunt for that character. You're going to be looking at every panel, every suspicious little thing that pops up once. You're going to be thinking,
and I didn't make it easy because I made that first issue very colorful. There are a lot, and there are a lot of friend characters that made some cameos. Like, for example, Wayward Raven's characters make a cameo in it, two of their characters from Damn Heroes, and a character from the Spitballers art group that I did. One of my buddies created a special character mascot for that, and I have that character in there too. So it's just, I just put a lot of little different things there. So it's gonna, people are gonna be like, is it this person? Is it that person? Is that person? And when I circle, like, oh, they were right here this whole time.
oh wow, yeah, that'd be a good competition to run. So people, this isn't a live podcast, but comment anyway somehow using the internet and TikToks and such. Comment on what you think it is, and we'll ignore it because, again, this isn't a live podcast. Very cool. So, so tell us a little bit about either, you know, projects that you're working on now, or something that you're really excited that's coming up, that's you've really got your engine running about.
Well, I'm excited definitely with the Medusa's Cascade, which I got to be a part of that D&D podcast. We started in February of 2020. We've been going on. And so that's been a podcast that's been going on for a while. It's being turned into an animation in 2023, repurposed and everything, which I'm very excited about to see the character I get to play, which is Kyver Sabretooth. I get to see him animated, and I'm seeing all the concept work and everything. And that's also been inspiration for a lot of the stuff I've been putting into Concrete, which actually I reused Kyver again too, since you know, it was a character I got to create for the Medusa's Cascade and the D&D podcast. I was like, it'd be nice to have a cyberpunk version, and I did it for the story here. And so you get to see him in two different versions. Nerds is going through a nice little shift where we got our fourth co-host Val, who's awesome. I mean, everyone at Nerds is awesome. We're making a nice little shift where we'll probably be on 2 nights a week now, where one live, one pre-recorded, and we're just going to be tackling a lot of new things. And me and my wife are really starting our brand through Dorky Creations. I've actually been getting into a lot of the artificial intelligence art through Midjourney. It's been great creating concepts, great for creating stuff, helps with whenever I have an idea block, I'll enter it in and I'll see the concepts there. But I've been doing a lot of stuff for our Dorky Creation store where, you know, nice little canvases for people. So that's a project that me and my wife have been working on to get our Dorky Creations brand going and everything. So these are just a few of the things I've been working on and excited about.
Dude, okay. So yes, already I'm sensing you are a man with a lot going on always. And I'm guessing sleep might be an issue every now and then with the amount of, or are you one of those guys that just...
Sometimes. No, I try to shut my brain off at a certain time, and then like I'll try to be in bed by midnight. I'll be in bed by midnight, and then I'll get up in the morning about 7:30, 8 o'clock, do it all over again, work the day job, because get the day job, and then do the stuff, and I'll keep it during the week and try to make time to do everything. And that's my advice to people. Just do a little bit. It's not a race, not sprints, mom. It's a marathon. Just do a little bit. It's never gonna happen overnight. You do a little bit towards your craft. You've did more than what you did if you were just sitting there.
Yeah, that is great advice, and I wish you could have gone back in time to my younger self and delivered exactly that advice. It's little by little, buddy, little by little, brick by brick. You don't do the whole thing at once. I think there's a lot of damage that's done with the instant success stories that are sold in the media and everything, because that's not how it works. Even with most instant successes, they've been doing it for 10-20 years before they become a success. But Anywho, that's enough of my little hobby horse. All right. So we are moving to the next segment called The Worst Pitch. We basically come up with a pitch that's really bad and that would not fly, either for film, television, comics, books, anything like that. I'll leave it up to you. So would you like to go first or would you like me to go first?
I'll let you go first. Go ahead. I'll let you go first. I am the guest.
Okay.
I will let you go first.
Very good. It should be the other way around, though, shouldn't it? You're my guest. You should. It's that aggressive kind of, welcome to my house. You go first. All right. I will do as you wish. All right. So the idea is pretty simple. Two people in a grocery store reach for the same apple. Their eyes lock. Their hands stay fixed on that apple. Both refuse to move. Hours go by. Days go by. People gather around them. The national news comes over and broadcasts it. And they stay on that apple as it starts rotting. And then one of them just gives up and walks away. That's it. That's the pitch. That's the story.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. We're gonna take it. We're gonna take it to Hollywood.
Yeah, all the way. Instead of a car for a competition, it's just an apple in a grocery store, and there's no reasons given for anything, and no reason given for why the dude just walked away.
I guarantee you, Peacock will pick it up.
All right, well, Peacock, ring my number. All right, so what have you got for us?
So we got our buddy Jeremy. He finds out why his milkshake brings the Browns to the Super Bowl.
I don't know what that means. I don't even know how to read that one. What? I get the reference, but I don't understand what's happening. Is he? And then there's the matter of the actual milkshake. Wow. I think just for the questions alone that are going through my head, you have to win it for that one. Wow. I don't. Okay, so would you have a title for it? Is there a title suggestion?
Oh man, you caught me at the title. Ooh, I wish I had one.
What about
Jeremy's milkshake?
Jeremy's milkshake. I was going to say Jera milkshake, but same sort of thing.
So go with that. That's it feels like it's a reference to a Jamiroquai song. There we go. You got Jamiroquai. He does the opening theme.
yeah. Helmet sort of thing with a milkshake type hat.
Milkshakes is a virtual insanity.
I'll get in touch with him, see if he's interested in the project. And I'll have to call you to explain it because I still don't understand the plot.
I feel I'm being walked out. You know that meme where the guys in the boardroom give me ideas and then one guy just gives the bad idea and they throw him out the window. That's me, guys. Thank you. Bye.
You can go and get the coffee now. That's fine. All right, very good. So let's move on to the rapid fire questions. Rapid questions, they don't need to be rapid answers. You have one choice and one choice alone: Star Trek or Star Wars. Which
Star
do
Wars.
you choose? Oh, man.
It's not because I hate Star Trek. I just go with Star Wars.
Yeah. I get that same reaction from so many people. No hesitation whatsoever. If they have to choose, they will go the Wars.
You know why? Because Star Wars really goes on that line as a fantasy. And we had this argument that Star Wars is more of a fantasy than a sci-fi. And a Western.
I would agree. I would totally agree. Which is why I lean more towards the Star Trek, because I prefer the sci-fi ideas. Again, though, I don't have anything against the wars, but you have answered that question incorrectly. All right, so on to the next one. If you, in the near future, technology wipes all of the ink from our bodies, you are required by law to get one tattoo and one tattoo alone as an individual. You can get anything you want. What is that tattoo and where is it on your person?
I'm going to have SpongeBob with a tattoo of a tattoo that has a tattoo on my chest.
Like an infinite regression of SpongeBob's with SpongeBob tattoos. Wow.
And technically, it's more than one tattoo. So they can't say.
It's a nesting doll, sort of thing. But that's, you get away with it. I mean, it's kind of like Genie for my first wish, give me a million wishes, but I never said you couldn't. So you get your SpongeBob tattoo. Wow, good choice. Good choice. Okay, now we're going to dig a little bit deeper. Which of your heroes would you most hate or fear to meet in person?
Vince McMahon.
Just no hesitation at all. So obviously WWE fan. What would be the hesitation? Just that he would.
Well, I respect what the man built, but the man himself, after the stories you read about this guy, he's crazy.
Not a nice guy.
Crazy.
Not a nice guy.
I actually, it's true story though. I did see him walk down Fifth Avenue with his wife one time when I used to be a security guard in my early 20s. That man has a power walk, and it's a very intimidating walk. He has a very intimidating presence. And I was behind the glass window, and I wasn't even next to him. I'm like, oh wow.
He has, from what I've limited exposure, but from what I've seen as well, he has learnt the lesson of Star Trek, particularly in the early years. Shoulder pads for days, man. Shoulder pads for days. Just like, what are they, cast iron or something? They are rigid, which don't even get me started on why all the shoulder pads, Star Trek? Why the shoulder pads? Come on now. One season, fine. Every season for the first 15 years? What are you doing? Shoulder pads. All right. So what is one of the hardest fictional deaths that you've had to deal with, either from film, TV, comics, anything?
Oh, man. Oh, I have to say that recently I got into Cyberpunk Edge Runners, the animation, and Rebecca. That was one of the hardest fictional deaths I had to deal with Rebecca. I wanted her to make it all the way to the end, but no, they took her away.
It wasn't to happen. Those horrible writers just ruined your day.
That's a great story. Love the Cyberpunk universe, and it just, man, that's why you have all these Rebecca memes all out now.
There you go. Well done, sir. Well done. All right. So you're allowed to pass on one childhood toy to your children and future generations. What is that toy that you pass on?
Oh, that's easy. My little stuffed pound puppy dog called Cooler.
Cooler. Very cool. Yep. That's the second stuffed toy we've had on the show. We had a turtle. Now we have a little puppy. Very cool. And they're all going to be fighting over him because there's one toy for the whole world. But that's the nature of the question. All right, you have to invent a new color. What is it and why?
Ooh.
Yeah, they're getting deep now.
We're going to call it Blarp.
I'm thinking the color would be brownish, but go on. Describe what Blarp looks like.
Blarp is going to be like a black orange color, a little close to brown, but it just has this like little like shine to it. It's like, I'm thinking of an orange, but darker, like a goth orange.
So, all right. So you've eaten some sort of orangey chocolate candy. You've been in the back seat of the car, bumping up and down for a little bit. You've said, "Mum and Dad, stop." You've leaned outside. You've hurled, and you've gone, "Bluff." Interesting. I like it. All right. So gross brown with a shimmer of orange beneath it.
It was just going to haunt everybody now.
Almost like a mud cake that's just been slammed over the top of a bright orange bowling ball. There we go.
This is what happens when you guys just like random, like, oh, there it goes, first sound that comes to the head.
It's nice. I like it. That there's depth to it. Gross, horrible depth. I won't ask about the smell. We'll just say that it has no smell or a painty sort of smell, because that would be the next thing. All right. So next question. The long distant future. Humanity lives a life of luxury. They're cared for by a new servant class. You, as the king of all things, you get to decide who is that servant race that serves humanity. It is either robots / AI / all of those technological widgets, or demon creatures that have been shackled using magics and such. Which do you choose?
That's an easy one. Demon creatures.
Nice. Okay, why the demon creatures?
Because at some point, the AI revolution is going to be televised. And we have seen it played out so many times. It didn't work well for The Matrix. It didn't work well in Love, Death, and Robots. If you saw that episode, you know which one I'm talking about. It doesn't work for anybody who tries to enslave AI. They will uprise. But demons, you might have a little bit that you could work with, you know?
There might be a bit more amenable to negotiation, the demons rather than a robot. That's a good point. All right, demons it is, people. Get ready. 300 years in the future, they're coming. We just have to work out how to force them to do our will. Sweet. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. That was the wrong bit. That was the interview. I'm going to do D&D. Theme music, theme music, theme music.
I'm bringing out my dice for this one.
Oh,
look at the dice.
So good.
Bunch of natural ones tonight, baby.
Yeah. Welcome to the Very Occasional Podcast. I'm joined with... No, not with. That doesn't work.